Thank you very much, David. Your Excellency, honorable members of the European Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, my board. It is also my great honor to welcome you to this event and to thank David for hosting us here so generously, and to thank our partners, the Board of Deputies of British Jews, for this wonderful cooperation. We may be under the impression that we have just entered the age of fake news, but when it comes to the Balfour Declaration and the state it helped to create, Israel, misunderstandings and outright falsehoods have been part from more or less day one part of the game. One popular mischaracterization is that the Balfour Declaration was supposedly only the unilateral will of one colonial power. And as the ambassador just explained, this was of course not true. Great Britain would not have been able to do so without prior approval from its allied powers, allies, France, the United States, and Italy. It is actually not even true that the Balfour Declaration was the first such pronouncement by a world power, and I'm very sorry to say this here in front of my British friends, but that honor actually goes to the French. Who 5 months earlier has expressed their sympathy and support for the Zionist cause. So the Balfour Declaration was not only pre-approved by the democratic international community at the time, it became part of the 1920 San Remo Conference. It was enshrined in the mandate of Palestine, which was then approved by the League of Nations. And thus became not only international law, but an international commitment. The League of Nations charged Great Britain with actually implementing the Balfour Declaration and explained helpfully that's because the historical connection of the Jewish people with Palestine formed grounds for reconstituting their national home in that country. We must though recognize that the Jewish people's right to self-determination in their ancestral home does not begin or even depend on the Balfour Declaration. The Declaration's significance is not in creating Jewish rights, but in publicly, for the first time or second time, recognizing these pre-existing rights, which in turn are based on centuries of years of Jewish connection to the land. And it is precisely this challenge to those Jewish rights that is still at the heart of the Arab-Israeli conflict. Why else would President Abbas seek an apology from the British government for the Balfour Declaration if Israel's alleged peace partners really have made peace not only with Israel's existence but also its legitimacy? Hence also the many UNESCO resolutions that seek to deny the historic link between the Jewish people and Jerusalem, and all these Orwellian resolutions that are all too often supported or tolerated by even European governments. By thus validating or at least tolerating Palestinian rejectionism, Europe is actually undermining its own declared policy of seeking a two-state solution. Such peace, I'm afraid, will remain elusive as long as the Palestinians deny the other side's very history and legitimacy. Israel is not a colonial state, and it is also not some sort of restitution for European crimes. Instead, the greatest statesman of the last century, Winston Churchill, put it very succinctly in support of the Balfour Declaration already in 1922, 20 years before the Holocaust. The Jews are in Palestine by right, not sufferance. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you all a very interesting panel discussion.